Hey everyone, Ethan here. I've been playing video games since I was 4 years old. They've been a huge staple of my life. What I'm hoping with this series of videos is to introduce people who may have never heard of some of my favorite games to give them a try, as well as hear the opinions of others who have played them. I've been playing the Pikmin series for 11 years now. It sucks that in that time Nintendo has only decided to release one new game, but that hasn't stopped me from going back to play each title over and over again. For those that don't know, Pikmin is a real-time strategy game that revolves around you commanding an army of small creatures called Pikmin to get specific tasks done. These specific tasks vary depending on the game. At first glance, I thought as a 10-year-old boy that Pikmin wouldn't be a game that I'd be interested in. Though I'm not surprised that I thought this. I cannot even begin to describe how wrong I was. Hearing that Pikmin is an RTS was kind of a turn-off for me. I hated, and still do to some degree, games that want you to get things done within a specific time limit. There are a few games that manage to get it right for me. Pikmin remains to be the best example of that. Time constraints typically stress me out and take away much of the fun factor in games. I feel that Pikmin is so open and free as to what you do with that time and how you could spend it that makes each playthrough a new and incredibly fun experience. I would prefer to stick to only talking about what I like about the game and what makes it fun for me, but this is a game where I pretty much just have to tell you everything. The game begins with a space explorer that we'll come to know as Captain Olimar flying through space. His spaceship, called the SS Dolphin, is suddenly struck by an asteroid, sending him hurtling towards an unknown planet. He wakes up to find his ship in pieces, leaving him stranded. He quickly realizes that if he doesn't repair the Dolphin within 30 days, his life support system will fail and he will die. As a stroke of what can only be described as pure luck, he discovers Pikmin, a small but courageous species that takes a liking to Olimar's whistle and commands. As a mutual unspoken agreement, Olimar enlists the help of the Pikmin to recover the 30 lost parts of his ship in exchange for leading and teaching them how to survive in a world where almost everything is out to eat them. Nintendo has always been pretty good at stylizing their games to make them age much better over time. Pikmin looks really good for a 20-year-old game. You can easily tell what everything is without having to guess whether something is an object or just the ground. The soundtrack is also pretty catchy. While not my favorite game soundtrack out there, the bar has been set incredibly high and Pikmin certainly doesn't disappoint. My favorite track is probably the one that plays when you're in the game's final area, which I'll talk a bit about later. You have 30 in-game days to recover all 30 ship parts, 5 of which are optional. Before a day begins, you choose an area that you'd like to explore. Each in-game day lasts about 13 minutes in real time. The game also has a few chimes and jingles to remind you how close the end of the day is. You have to make sure that all of your Pikmin are accounted for by the time the day ends, or else they will be left behind and killed. At the end of each day, you'll be shown a stat screen that displays how many Pikmin were sprouted and killed, as well as how many ship parts and days are remaining. To get used to the mechanics, the first day lacks a timer, so the player can focus on how to lead a Pikmin army. Over the course of the game, you'll have to use your Pikmin to fend off enemies, overcome obstacles, retrieve ship parts, and to increase the size of your battalion. Collecting ship parts usually only serves one purpose, to get you closer and closer to leaving the planet. However, there's one specific ship part that can be collected early in the game that allows you to see the other ship parts in the area you're in on your radar. You'll notice that half the time when you collect parts, you can see the ship repair itself in real time. You can have up to 100 Pikmin on the field at a time, while any remaining Pikmin will reside in their homes known as onions. If all Pikmin of a specific type die, the day will immediately end. Upon landing the next day, the onion will produce one new Pikmin to avoid extinction. There are 3 types of Pikmin that you will encounter on your journey, which are not only distinguishable by their color, but also a specific physical trait. They also have their own quirks that set them apart from the others. Red Pikmin have big noses, are immune to fire, and do more damage in battle. Yellow Pikmin have massive ears, can reach higher places when thrown, and have the ability to carry bomb rocks, which are used to either bust down otherwise unbreakable walls or to use against unsuspecting enemies. Finally, blue Pikmin have gills, which allow them to breathe underwater and act as lifeguards to save other Pikmin from drowning, which I think is such a neat little feature. Pikmin work at different efficiencies depending on what stage of development the plant on top of their head is at. Pikmin with leaves work the slowest, buds work slightly faster, and flowers work the fastest. Their stage can be both upgraded and demoted in a variety of different ways. Most commonly, Pikmin can drink nectar which will immediately flowerize them. However, they can also revert back to leaves if they're thrown from or by an enemy. The stage of development is something that can be useful but isn't required to accomplish anything mandatory in-game. If you played later installments, you'll notice that overall, Pikmin in this game are slightly slower and more clumsy compared to the sequels. This isn't anything major though, just a small tidbit I noticed. Olimar can be used for more than just commanding Pikmin. He can also punch. While not very strong, it's very useful on smaller enemies or to distract bigger enemies while your Pikmin sneak past. He also has a health gauge. His health is depleted when he is attacked by an enemy or hazard, but can be replenished anytime by interacting with the dolphin. However, if his health runs out, the day will automatically end and all Pikmin on the field will be left behind. The game contains 5 areas which can be traveled to as much as you want once they're unlocked. Each area is unlocked when you've collected a certain amount of ship parts. The first area is a small tutorial-like area appropriately named the Impact Site. It's small and contains next to no enemies. It's a great area to take a day to boost your Pikmin numbers. The next area is called the Forest of Hope and is what I'd consider the game's first main area. It introduces you to a lot of what the game has to offer while not pushing you too hard. The third area is the Forest Navel, a darker cave-like area which starts to test your ability to use Pikmin effectively. The fourth area, the Distant Spring, is what I consider to be the most challenging area of the game. It contains a lot of potentially dangerous enemies and hazards. It also happens to contain the most ship parts in the game. The 3 main areas, which I would consider to be the Forest of Hope, the Forest Navel, and the Distant Spring, each contain a mini-boss and a regular boss, which are usually guarding ship parts. Finally, once 29 ship parts are collected, you'll gain access to the Final Trial, an area containing the game's final boss and the final missing ship part. That's a lot of finality. The game contains 3 endings which gauge how well you did. Without spoiling anything, the best ending is awarded for collecting all 30 ship parts, fully repairing the dolphin. The good ending for collecting the 25 necessary ship parts, but missing some of the optional ones. And the final bad ending for not collecting the required ship parts in time. Upon reaching the end of the game, you will be given a final analysis stat screen which shows how well you did during your playthrough, as well as a leaderboard to compare yourself to your previous playthroughs. Once you discover the 3 Pikmin types for the first time, you will unlock Challenge Mode, which can be accessed from the main menu. It's a score-based mode which has you growing as many Pikmin as possible in the time limit. The 5 areas of the game can be unlocked once they are unlocked in the story mode for the first time. Much like completing story mode, at the end of a challenge mode day, you'll be shown a leaderboard to encourage you to try to get the highest score possible. The original Pikmin was released in 2001 on the GameCube. It was then re-released on the Wii in 2009. The game is almost identical while having some quality of life improvements such as widescreen support and various bug fixes. The one drawback that makes me prefer the GameCube version to the Wii version is the use of motion controls. Unfortunately, the Wii version can only be played with a Wii remote and nunchuck. This won't affect some people, but my arms tend to get tired from pointing the Wii remote at the sensor bar. I also don't have very steady arms, leading my aim to be incredibly shaky. Both versions can be bought secondhand on Amazon or eBay, but they tend to run for more than $35. The Wii version was later made available via the Wii U eShop for $19.99 US. If you happen to own one of these Nintendo consoles, I cannot recommend Pikmin enough. Unfortunately, as of this time, Pikmin 1 has not been made available on the Switch, and any console it's on has been discontinued by Nintendo. If you really want to give Pikmin a try, there are other ways to play it. Google is your friend. At the end of each of my videos, I'm going to add the game or games I talked about to a list of my favorites. I'm not going to score it though. Just because it's low on the list doesn't mean it's bad by any means. These are my favorite games after all. Since this is the first video I've made, Pikmin will be all alone on the list, but hopefully not for long. I would really like to know what you thought about this video. Have you heard about Pikmin before? How does it stack up against your favorite games? Did I do a good job explaining and advocating for this game? One of the reasons I'm making these videos is because I love hearing what people think about the games that I love. I would love to see your thoughts in the comments. I plan on reading and replying to them as much as possible. Thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you back here again soon.